Correct. And we are live.
Hello, everybody out there in ModPo land. We're starting a little late. This is Al. We're in Washington, D.C. We're in the nation's capital. And I hope that you can hear the audio. We're using Plan B audio. And this is a what's that, Zach? This is a very special webcast. We're so glad you're here. So a couple of announcements. First of all, we are so glad to be at the Folger Shakespeare Library. Let's hear it for the Folger Shakespeare Library. We are glad to be here at the Folger, and we want to thank Terry, who has been, who is basically our liaison. She's been fabulous, and it's Terry Cross, am I right? Terry Cross Davis. If you ever want to be reached out to from the Folger, she's your person, and she's been great. And Matt, on the tech side, thank you to the Folger. And while I'm hawking the Folger, I will say that the Folger has had a poetry series for many, 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 many years. I'm holding the brochure. I don't know if that's helpful to you that I'm holding the brochure, but it's a series. All you have to do is go to the Folger's website. If you Google Folger Shakespeare Library, you'll get there. It's very easy. And I'll just point out that one of the many events they're having this year on February 19th, 2015, Thursday at 6:30 p.m. is Ray Armentrout, a ModPo poet. Yeah, Ray will be here in Washington, so I'm sure a lot of people will be here for that. Zach Gardner and Chris Martin traveled from Philly. Can we get a camera on you guys? Ah, are you live or you're recording? So there's no way to get a camera on you. Okay. Okay. Zach Gardner and Chris Martin have set up here at the Folger. They've been here for hours trying to figure out how this all works, and we are so grateful and glad to them. And another Zach who's taking a film for other uses. We're not even sure yet what that is. He's basically documenting our trip to D.C. Sitting to my right is Ray Maxwell. Let's hear for local hero, Ray Maxwell. Ray is here, and Ray is raying the phone, manning the phone, Maxwelling the phone. And the phone is this one. This is not your usual phone, and it's not the phone number that we've usually used. This is a phone number that will only be used once. This phone number will be worthless after tonight, so we want you to call this number if you would like to talk to us. I can't absolutely guarantee it'll work perfectly, but we'd like to take your call, and that number is 215-422-2928, 215-422-2928, and Ray will be here answering your call and trying to patch you in to the room. And Lily Applebaum is sitting to my left, your right. Hello, Lily.
Yeah.
How are you?
Good.
So is Lily able to be heard? She has to go into this speaker here, but you're picking her up okay?
Yeah.
So Lily, you'll just have to talk loud. This is for the room. That's for the webcast.
Yep.
And recording. Lily will be watching the forums and also Twitter. Am I right?
Yes.
Tell us about Twitter.
If you want to either pose a question or just live tweet your experience watching the webcast, use the hashtag ModPoLive, all one word, no underscores or anything. So ModPolive.
Right.
And I'll be refreshing and checking in that hashtag.
And also the discussion forum. So you're going to go to the webcast, the current webcast discussion forum, and look at the thread. And the thread says something like, post here.
Yeah, post your questions during the webcast here, and that's where I'll look to pose a question live.
Good. Now, here's the tricky part. We have, I can't see them, but we have TAs joining us through Google Hangouts. And can we do audio with them? Are we ready to do this? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have Molly there. Hello, Molly.
Hello.
Molly, can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me? Uh-oh.
That was Molly. Hello, Molly.
Hi, Al, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you perfectly.
Yay.
Can people listening to the webcast hear them too? Yes. Fantastic. Hi, Molly. And Allie, are you there, Allie?
I'm here.
Oh, fantastic. And Amaris is there?
I'm here as well. Hello.
Hello, Amaris. Great to hear your voice. And Dave Poplar, you're there, Dave?
I'm here. I'm here.
Great. Dave, how was your RV trip?
It was pretty amazing.
Yeah? Did you
Yeah.
find Jack Kerouac on the road?
No, it was kind of fun hiking the Grand Canyon because you had three old guys who thought they were young guys, and
And then
yeah,
there
we
was
we
you.
hiked we hiked a little bit beyond our skill level.
So you're sitting in a chair right now, I take it.
Been sitting for a while.
Welcome, Dave. Emily Harnett in New Haven. Hello.
Hi, Al.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm great. It's always great to hear your voice. Emily Harnett, I rewatched the videos from this week 3 of ModPo. I did. And week 3 is where you really start to just blow us away, Emily. You just say all these amazing things. Do you remember that?
I don't, but I'm glad that you do.
Yeah, you were sort of unconscious in the, Michael Jordan on a basketball court sense. You were just unconscious, just nailing it every time. And those were the good days, weren't they? It's been downhill ever since.
Those were the good days.
Erica, are you there?
I'm here. Hi, Al.
Hello, Erica. It's great to have you. Erica Kaufman do you prefer Kaufman or Kaufman?
Either one is okay.
Okay, I'll just say Kaufman. Anyway,
Okay.
Erica at Bard College, who's part of an extraordinary organization that thinks a lot about teaching and learning, and we're just so grateful that you and Julia Block, who couldn't be with us tonight, have developed a teacher resource site. And Eric, it's generous of you to spend time with us during these podcasts. And Jason Zuzka. Jason, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Hello, Jason. Do you
Hi.
have good-looking headphones tonight? I can't see you.
I do.
Great.
I had a selection of 3, and I chose the most stylish.
The most stylish. Great. Okay. And Max McKenna in Chicago. Hello.
Hi, Al. How are you?
Oh, your sound is great. Anna was with us, but I kicked her off. You know why? Because Anna in Boston. Because we had too many Anna Strong. We had too many people joining the stream, the live stream. Google Hangouts has a strict limit. So at some point, one of you guys will cycle out and we'll bring Anna back in. But for the meantime, Anna is on standby. Okay. And we have lots of people in the room, a whole bunch of people. Just a couple of quick announcements. Politics and Prose at the bookstore, Politics and Prose. We have a weekly Saturday group. Anthony and Susan and other regulars, John Knight and other regulars are here. Kellyanne, where's Kellyanne? And Kellyanne. So they're there, and if you're in the D.C. area, please come by. The Tacoma Park Library Group is meeting in Tacoma Park, Maryland on Saturdays also. And if you want to get the details on that, on Sundays, thank you, John Knight, on Sundays. And so if you want the details on that, you'll just go to the forums and type in the search box Tacoma Park, Takoma Park, and you'll probably get there. Los Angeles. I'm going to be in Los Angeles. Leaving tomorrow? I don't even know when I'm leaving, but I'm traveling on Friday, and we're meeting Saturday morning at 10 a.m. California time. And Molly will be there, right, Molly?
Yeah, I'll be there.
That'll be fun. It'll be great to see you, Molly. And for that, you just have to go to SoCal, S-O-C-A-L, search in the discussion forums to find the whole discussion about where that's happening. So, yes, great. We're ready to get started. 215-422-2928. And I'm going to ask Chris and Zach how we are getting people in the room into the audio. Do they have to come up here and speak into this?
Please, yes.
Okay, so that mic was not going to work, unfortunately. Yeah. And we need to use it for the recording, so we're bringing people up, talking to this, and into the mic. This is cool. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Fantastic. All right, the first caller who calls Ray at 215-422-2928 will get a copy of Lainey Brown's book, Agency of Wind. Lily will nail that to you. Yeah, that'll be fun. First caller. All right, good. Lily, what do we have in the forums?
Okay, well, I thought a good place to start would be John Weems.
Yeah.
Asks,
Isn't it Weem, just Weem, not Weems?
There's an S here on the forums. Maybe he has added it in since the beginning of the course. I don't know.
I mean, my memory of 35,000 people could be a little weak.
He says, I am taking a writing course with a stress on the importance of grammar and syntax. How important is grammar and syntax in contemporary poetry? But I vote that we specifically talk about grammar and syntax with week 3 poems.
Okay. Great. Max, did you hear that question?
I did.
You want to try to answer it? John, take John Weems' question very liberally and try to respond to the issue of, so much depends upon a red wheelbarrow glazed with rainwater beside the white chickens. If you take so much depends upon off, it's a fragment. Are these guys afraid of fragments, for instance?
No, not at all. And I mean, the classic and probably well-worn criticism of grammar is that it's prescriptive, right? And it's not really. It's typically foisted on us, and I think a lot of the modernists and avant-garde poets in general try to throw off the yoke of grammar, right? So
part of this revolution, part of the liberation, the word as such revolution of modernism, was partly to throw off the constraints of grammar. That sounds pretty threatening, though. Allie, Molly, what do either of you think about that? I mean, is that really radical or is it pseudo-radical? What do you think?
What? Can you repeat the question?
Yeah. So, Allie, the question is: does throwing off grammar, is it really that radical? Is sort of is using the idea of making it new, extending it to a kind of agrammatical writing, is that really radical? Does that have effect? What do you think?
Well, it's interesting because looking at the poems that we have this week, I don't really feel like that many of them do kind of throw off the yoke of grammar that much. Maybe more than that, like if you kind of stick with the school of imagism. In the station of the metro, you can almost see spaces as kind of adding another unit to grammar. And when you look at the original form that poem took, there is something kind of picturesque about it, just with the spaces between the words.
So the imagists are very careful about language, and they typically do write incomplete sentences if you parse it out. Who is it that's coming soon in ModPo? Karen, will you step up to this chair over here? Who is it that's coming soon in ModPo who will in fact break the rules of grammar? Anybody pipe up?
Gertrude Stein?
I'm hearing there's a lot of people here in Washington, D.C. at the Folger are saying Gertrude Stein. So, Erica, do you want to say just 30 seconds as to anticipate week 4? Because a lot of people get a little freaked out when we get to Stein. So, Erica, I invite you to say just something about Stein and the way she writes and maybe about this question of grammar.
Well, when I think about what I love about Stein is that she uses a different kind of grammar in such a way that her language is always active. She calls it a continuous present. So you're always involved in the action of whatever is happening in her text. It can feel a little bit off-putting to some people because it's so different from the grammar that we're normally used to reading and writing in.
Right.
But the other thing that's amazing is that she also, like the imagists, uses common speech too.
Yes, she certainly does. So it's really at the level of the phrase. Sometimes you're hearing common speech. At the level of the sentence, sometimes it's a fragment. At the level of the word, sometimes it's repeated. So there are lots of different things happening all at once. Karen is here, and she's a big fan of Gertrude Stein, and you will see an active thread that Karen will create that will take our brief readings of Tender Buttons and push them further and further, well beyond week 4. So Karen, do you want to just plug Gertrude Stein very briefly for people who are kind of nervous about Gertrude Stein?
Yes.
Nice and loud.
Okay. You don't have to be afraid. She's very friendly. She's very democratic in distributing her words. And if you love words and you love the dictionary, you're going to really love Stein because she goes right down to the root. And when you go down to the root, there is so much there. It is so much fun. It's better than digging potatoes.
Let's give Karen a big hand, please. Yeah, that's great. While we're taking a phone call, I'll invite John Knight to come up and sit in his chair here. Okay.
Mike from Brooklyn.
Mike from Brooklyn. All right. So we should be, Mike, hello, Mike. We should be able to hear you. Mike, do you want to talk? We're going to bring you up a little louder. Go ahead, Mike. Give it a try.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I do. Speak to you, Al.
That's great. Hello, Mike from Brooklyn. What part of Brooklyn?
Very cool. Carroll Gardens.
Oh, yes, Carroll Gardens. Very cool.
Yeah.
How's ModPo going for you?
I'm sorry?
How is ModPo for you?
Great. It's my second time taking it.
That's great. Fantastic.
I'm really involved now in ModPo Plus. That's what I'm really getting into now.
Oh, that's good. So for someone coming back to ModPo, you're not bored with the same old poems. You got new stuff.
I got new stuff, yeah.
Great.
I also enjoy rehashing the old poems. I had just one quick question.
Did you say rehash?
Sorry.
You can't find hash being served in Brooklyn anywhere, so you're not allowed to say rehash. Sorry, Mike. Go ahead. Let's hear your question. Yep.
Yeah, and I was reading his response with wife's note, basically.
Yes.
And he wrote about the rate of the refrigerator, that line he said, remember?
He said, well, it's almost like a rape of the icebox, he said. And then he laughs a little bit. It's problematic.
Wild association. I didn't think more sexual politics. I thought of Thomas and Williams' rape of the lot.
Yeah, very possible. Very possible. Do you?
They're both, sounding very provocative, but it's just very mundane.
Yeah. Mike, would you do me a favor and hang up and listen to the answer on the webcast? Would you do that? Okay, Mike, it's great. Are you going to make a trip to Philly to the Writers' House at some point? Okay, we'll see you there then. Thank you. Thanks for calling. Okay, thank you, Mike. Take care. That worked really well. So thank you, Ray. And here's your little cord. 215-422-2928. If you call, Ray will answer, and then you'll wait a little bit. Okay, so Anna, have you joined us? Anna Strong, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hi, Anna. Sorry I had to kick you off, but you're back.
It's cool. I'm not sad.
That's good. All right. So we're talking about the refrigerator note poem, right?
Al, can I take 1 second though? Hey, Jason.
Yeah.
Can you mute yourself?
Yeah.
Thanks, buddy.
Why? Is singing the Star Spangled Banner while we're trying to have a webcast?
Something like that.
We've got Jason's outside. We got traffic noises and everything.
Oh, Jason, go inside somewhere and mute yourself. I've never said that to Jason, but so.
Sorry, public service announcement.
Today, I have eaten the plums that were in the icebox and which you were probably saving for breakfast. Forgive me. They were delicious, so sweet and so cold. What is your hint, Anna Strong, in that poem that this apology isn't quite the full apology that it might be? Which part of the text gives you some kind of hint that it's not a pure apology?
Well, I think partly the fact that the forgive me doesn't come until the last stanza.
There is that, yes.
Right? I mean, if this was an apology, you might start there.
What happens right after that?
You have not like, I'm so sorry about this. You have forgive me, but they were fantastic. I'm not really that sorry. They were so good.
They were delicious, so sweet. So you got that fabulous consonance there. So sweet, so poetic, so sweet, and so cold. So the deliciousness of the plums has made its way into the poem. So Williams gets the poem and the plums, and Flossie gets nada. Right? Am I being too harsh? I mean, in the discussion forums, I think some people have, very nicely, the way they can be in the discussion forums, said, you guys are too hard on him. He's really not so bad. I want to open it up to Amaris, Emily. Amaris, Emily, do you have anything to say about this battle between Flossie and Bill?
I was kind of going to echo what you just said, that he is savoring the plums. That's what the last two lines are devoted to. The fact that it doesn't end on the tone of repentance and forgiveness just kind of signals to me that he's more of a sensualist. He's not thinking in terms of like moral repentance, exactly.
So he's a sensualist. The problem, I totally love what you said there. The problem is he's a sensualist, but what we get is not the plum or relationship with his wife, relations with his wife, because there is a sexual dimension here. We get the poem. Do you consider the poem to be the poem of a sensualist? Do you consider the poem to be sensual? I guess I'm going to throw that to Emily Harnett.
Yeah, I do. There's it's kind of hard not to, right? Because it doesn't end on the words "forgive me." It ends on "they were delicious, so sweet and so cold." A sort of unapologetic description of joyful sensory experience.
Thank you. The great boundary breaking thing about this poem was that he took a refrigerator note genre. He took the genre. I don't even know if you could, in those days, in the teens and 20s, even elevate this kind of writing to the word genre, but a refrigerator note was a genre. How many of you have written, not texted, handwritten a note to leave for your partner or your spouse or your husband or wife in the house when you've done something and left? Okay? And I just want to say for the record, I don't know if we have a visual of that, but Zach's turning. Raise your hand again if you've left a note. All right. Susan, I want you to stand up and speak really loudly. Come up to the front. I don't know how the video is going to work. Come on, Susan. Oh, okay. Who else has done it? Who else has left a note? Kellyanne. Now suddenly that nobody wants to talk. Kellyanne, come up to the front. Come on. Come on. Actually, what you can do is you can go to that side and pull that wonderful folger chair up to the table and speak really loud into the mic. And just this is very simple. I'm not going to put you on the spot. Well, maybe I am actually. Tell us very loudly what note you left. Can you remember the last one?
One to my kids, maybe?
To your kids, and you said.
Okay, I have to think back. Like that you will need to do something. So that you need to empty the dishwasher, or that you need to like pick up your room.
So I have to go out.
Ignore them.
I have to go out. Please, before I get home, clean up your room and pick up the dishes in the kitchen.
Yes.
Mom.
Yes.
Or
Love
mother.
Mom.
Love Mom. Was that a poem? John Knight.
No.
Was that a poem? Would you count Kellyanne's note to her kids in the realm of poetry? Would you?
Yes, I would. I think it's
John Knight. John Knight. He's so latitudinarian. He's so generous. His categories are so wide.
Anyway, I would count it as a poem.
Oh, that's right. We need John to right. Okay. Go ahead, John.
Because it's short and it's terse and it's just about the facts, and so that's why.
So Williams made it possible for Kellyanne to be a poet while being a mom, right? Because of this. So this genre, which is thought of as low, emerges. I mean, Williams was literally the first person. I don't think anybody in the history of poetry published, certainly not made famous, a poem that began as an actual refrigerator note. And I assume that we are all happy about this revolution, right? And I'm going to go around. So Molly, Allie, Amaris, Anna, Dave, Emily, Erica, Jason, and Max. I'm going to ask you each to say in a sentence or less whether you are happy that that there's no going back from William Carlos Williams, Chapter 2, Week 3, that there is no going back in the history of modern poetry, that the genres have all been widely open So, Molly, it's a good thing, totally good thing, no problem, you love it, right?
Totally a good thing. I love it.
Thank you. Allie? Allie Castleman, are you there? Okay, Allie's mic is
Yes.
muted. Allie?
Yes, I completely agree with Molly.
Okay. Maurice, this is a totally good thing. There's no downside to crappy little low-level genres. Kellyanne's note to her kids, John Knight, in John Knight's anthology, is a poem. No problem, no downside. You don't have a conservative aesthetic bone in your body, right?
No, now it's all about your own point of view, and poetry can be everywhere.
Wow. Anna?
Hell yeah.
I knew you were going to say that. Dave Poplar?
I love it. The toothpaste is out of the tube. Can't put it back.
That's a poem, Dave. Emily Harnett?
Yes.
Come on, Emily. I want to channel the conservative impulse in you. Come on.
I'm sorry, Al. I'm changed.
About this. What would you have said? Anna, Emily, I really asking this question. Honestly, I want a frank answer. All right, let's say it's 1920, 1923, and you are in the webcast in 1920, and the 1920 version of Al is saying, I found this poem in a magazine called Poetry Magazine, and it's a refrigerator note, and it's about an apology to the guy's wife about eating the plums, and it's a poem. Honestly, would you then have embraced it?
Well, you know, when you put it that way, I think I would have had some initial resistance to it, but that resistance would be part and parcel of also being kind of titillated and intrigued by it.
Yeah.
For something to be new, it has to, and exciting, it has to have that initial sort of antagonistic encounter with the reader, I think.
Yeah, so the antagonism, Emily is saying that the impulse to say, is this poetry? Is this poetry? It's the same impulse that brings people to this day at the Philadelphia Museum of Art to stand in front of the fountain, to stand in front of Duchamp's urinal turned upside down and sign, and say, it ain't art, or what the hell is this, or how much did they pay for this thing, or how much would it sell if it were on the open market? Probably $850,000. But it's just a urinal, a found object brought out of the hardware store and made into art, and that incredible hubristic gesture became art and now is completely and utterly accepted even by grumpy Uncle Joe, who's there right now while we're here, looking at it, saying to Gert, his wife, they just came in from Iowa, saying to Gert, I hear, I'm sorry, I'm doing a Midwest, I don't even know. I hear it's art. Well, Gert, if it's art, okay. And what Emily and Molly and everybody else is celebrating is the fact that we ask about whether it's art. That's what we mean by meta poetry, really, in ModPo. What we mean is that we encounter something that challenges our categories, not just gives us something, another version of something beautiful or another version of someone's personal experience, but in fact a categorical question: is it art? All right, good. Erica, you're on board?
I think it's a U-Haul of awesome.
Thank you, Erica. That's great. Jason?
We told him to mute.
We told him to mute. Okay. Jason, nod your head.
No, I'm not mute. I'm here.
Jason, you're on board. You have no doubts?
No, not at all. I think that, like Pound, everything really went downhill after the Troubadours.
I knew you can't leave well enough alone. And Max McKenna in Chicago, home of all kinds of aesthetic conservative impulses, but there's Max waving his freak flag for modernism, right?
Yes.
He was not quite ready to sign on with my characterization. All right, do we have someone on the phone? We do not. Okay, 215-422-2928. And Lily, what do we have in the forums? Kellyanne she wants to go back. So I'm going to, no, you can. I'm going to invite Ev Oh, Ev told me not to call her up. Okay. I'm going to invite Dorothy to come up. Poor Dorothy. Thank you, Kellyanne. Let's give Kellyanne a big hand because she is like a stalwart DC ModPoer. Thank you, Kellyanne, for everything that you do to hold the community together. Yes. Okay. So, Lily.
Okay, well, Elaine on the discussion forum for the webcast asks if any of the poets we're studying this week, like H.D., Pound, Stevens, and Williams, knew each other and had correspondence. So we can answer this question, I think, historically, but we could also talk about how maybe aesthetically or like programmatically our poems in the course do relate to each other this week.
Do you want to answer quickly, historically? Did the poets of week 3, chapter 2.1 and 2.2, did they know each other?
Yes.
Well, Pound and Williams knew each other.
Pound and Williams knew each other because they both attended
The school in,
that school that begins with a P in Philadelphia, the University of Pennsylvania. Pound was an undergrad, and Williams was a medical student. Williams lived in the Quad. Okay, but who else in Philadelphia hung out with them? Hilda Doolittle, who came in from Bryn Mawr and hung out with them. What a scene that must have been. And Marion Moore, who was also at Bryn Mawr, I believe, came and hung out with them. And then, of course, they all got to know each other. All right, but you wanted to take a different swipe at the question, Lily. Go ahead.
Well, I thought we could talk maybe just aesthetically about either imagism as a movement and how our different poets from this week sort of are practitioners of that movement, or even like how the Williams that we're looking at this week is or isn't part of imagism.
Okay. Did the TAs in Google Hangouts hear Lily's framing of the question? And if you did and have a response, just speak. Great. It always works if I call on somebody. I want you to restate the question, and then I'll call on somebody. This is always fun.
Okay, well, I was thinking to answer Elaine's question, we could either talk about imagism as it's practiced sort of variously by our different imagist poets, which are Stevens from the intro, H.D., Pound, and Stevens' 13 Ways of Looking at a Blackbird. Those are our imagist poets this week.
Mm-hmm.
Or we could talk about the Williams we're reading this week and how he does or doesn't fit into an imagist program based on the poems we have.
Why don't we let's frame it this way specifically. Okay, so I'm asking the TAs to pipe up if you're interested. The wheelbarrow poem. We're going to recite it all together, all of us, TAs, everybody here at the folder. We're going to recite it together. Do not look down at your text. All right, here we go. So much depends
upon the red wheelbarrow.
Rainwater.
With rainwater.
Besides the white
chicken. Wheelbarrow, right. Red wheelbarrow glazed with rainwater beside the white chickens. Okay. So, they're laughing. Which of the TAs wants to say how that actually diverges from images?
Well, I mean, the so much depends upon is in a way like kind of becomes a rally cry for ModPo, I think, in general. I mean, you have the static image afterwards, but there's this immediate qualifier that is basically saying, pay attention to this because this is important.
Yes, good. So much depends upon is not imagistic. Max McKenna, technically speaking, violates the Images Manifesto. How and why? Technically,
it's there's something like programmatic about it. I mean, it's kind of trying to call your attention to something other than the image or the object or the thing that it's describing. It's
telling rather than showing, I guess, is the cliche, right?
Sure, and I think that's true of a lot of the imagist poems that we were reading. There's always something a little bit kind of controversial or polemical about each of them.
HD, Sea Rose, and Sea Poppies is not so much polemical in its phrasing as polemical in the very fact that it pulled off something so radically, extremely, purely imagistic. But in this case, he tacks on so much depends upon the pure images poem would be the fragment, red wheelbarrow glazed with rainwater beside the white chickens. That would be the photograph, the image. By adding so much depends upon, he's framed it, and he's basically drawing, as everybody has said, he's drawing attention to it. So, Dave Poplar, anything more to say? I mean, if we took so much depends upon off, it would be less programmatic, less rhetorical, right? Less ideological, more imagistic. Would it be a better poem?
Well, that's in the eye of the beholder. I mean,
Yeah, but I'm asking you as a beholder.
My opinion, I like the way it is. I mean, it's hard for me to say that because I've just lived with it as it is right now, and it's not, like we said, entirely imagistic. It's
a little hard to get
trying
that
to tell you something.
In the what do we call it? The tube. Yeah. So
exactly.
So much depends upon suggests that everything that follows is something that we need to depend upon, something that's really important. Lily, let's you and I riff. I'll say so much depends upon, you say so much, we'll do it, right? Okay, here we go. I'll start. So much depends upon things, just things. You go.
So much depends upon my memory.
So much depends upon something I can't get out of my head, probably from childhood when there was a real farm.
So much depends upon color contrast, red and white.
So much depends upon a fragment.
So much depends.
This is a game. Keep going. You have to take a drink after each one. It's the new wheelbarrow drinking game. Oh, cool. Somebody out there in ModPo land, will you please monetize this? Go ahead. Bought you some time.
Okay.
So much depends upon.
So much depends upon appreciating an image and not putting more on it than there is in front of it.
So much depends upon words that depend, follow from, and hang from, depend from this opening clause. Go ahead.
So much depends upon the way that rain falls on a metal object.
So much depends upon freshness. So much depends upon newness. We know William's obsession with newness. So much depends upon simplicity. So much depends upon just what you see. So much depends upon photography.
So much depends upon the mechanical world. So much depends upon the organic world. So that's what the message is, that you are very vulnerable. And you're dependent on the mechanical
it's almost
world.
an environmentalist poem.
That's right.
But it's an environmentalist poem that synthesizes the mildly industrial, the wheelbarrow, and the chickens, which are free range. I mean, these are really free range. Really free range. I mean, they're just chickens going.
So the subliminal message is you're vulnerable. I'm going to hide it behind this picture.
Wow. So much depends upon a fine balance of artifice and nature. Yes, and the beauty that is created by that environmental synthesis. Wow, John Knight, man. Okay, we have a phone call from Switzerland.
Diana from Switzerland.
Diana. Okay, let's see. There's a lot of... Hello, Diana. Can you hear me? Can we bring her up? Diana, this is Al. Hi. Hello. Well, what you ought to do is turn the sound on the webcast and listen to me as I talk to you, because otherwise you'll get feedback and we might even get feedback. So, what part of Switzerland are you in, Diana?
I'm right between Basel and Zurich.
Oh, lovely. And the autumn there is good?
It's winter cold. It's beautiful. We have this wonderful Indian summer.
Oh.
India and Switzerland.
Yeah, that is really cool. So Philly was very cool. I needed 2 blankets last night. But we are here in Washington, which is basically a swamp. So we must have added 8 degrees. Sorry, John. We must have added 8 degrees. Now Ray Maxwell would agree with the swamp metaphor.
I live in Foggy Bottom.
He lives in Foggy Bottom, where the temperature is another 12 degrees hotter. Diana, hey, would you like to come to Prague on October 14th?
I'll be there.
Really? This is the Diana who's coming?
Oh, yeah, I'll be there.
Oh, Diana, that's so great. And you've been a great participant in the forums. It's been so much fun having you join us. Is this your first year in ModPo?
It is indeed, and it's a revelation, and I feel that all of you are just my family.
We are your family. Hey, Dave Poplar, are you there? Dave Poplar, say hello to Diana in Switzerland. She's your sister.
Hey, Diana in Switzerland.
Say hello to Dave Poplar, Diana.
Hi, Dave.
This is so cool. We're all. I feel like singing. It's a small world after all, or something like that. Da 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 da. Over and over again. Okay. Diana, you must have a question. You didn't just call to hear my voice.
Yes, I did.
Good.
I'm so far behind in my work, Rose, that I just wanted to throw you all kisses and say I think you are the most terrific team I ever came across.
You're gonna make me cry. I'm so the first Czech Republic beer after the session is on me, Diana, for saying that about us. So what I'm going to do is we're going to hang up, and I would like you to turn back your sound, and I would like to invite the TAs and Lily and maybe Ray and John, who are veterans here, just to quickly suggest how people who are falling behind can deal with that feeling, because I think it's really important. So Diana, listen to that offline, and we're going to hang up now, okay?
Okay.
All right, terrific. Thank you so much for calling. All right, bye-bye. All right, John Knight, you start. Just a quick suggestion about how someone should feel about falling behind, because it obviously happens a lot.
The message in ModPo is to deconstruct poetry, and so if you just deconstruct your life and the way you deal with this course, that's useful. It's just to be there around it in the environment and just soak it in. Don't be too active about it unless you feel like it.
Okay, great. That's a good suggestion. Ray, turn the mic toward you and just say a word or two about what you would suggest.
Sure. My first year in ModPo, I fell behind because I was working full time, and I made a point.
You were working overtime.
And I made a point to try to catch up on Saturdays. The problem with trying to catch up on Saturdays is that the discussion forums are going on constantly, and it's hard to sort of catch up with the discussion forums. So, but this year we have a couple of innovative discussion forum groups where you can go and hang out if you feel like you're hopelessly lost. There's Mark Snyder's I'm Hopelessly Lost discussion forum.
And Mark is like perennially, personally, hopelessly lost, as he would be the first to say. So Mark totally loves it if other hopelessly lost people hang out with him.
And if all else fails, you can come to ModPo and the Human Condition.
That's Ray's thread.
That's my thread.
That's right. And also, I'm going to turn to Max. No, I'm going to turn to Emily Harnett in a second to give us some advice about people who are falling behind. But and then maybe Lily. But I'm going to pitch the office hours, as I always do in these webcasts. Each one of us, well, I have one office hour, but I think everybody else has 2 office hours. That means that we're covered every day. You can come and see us more or less live. It's almost synchronous. And I defy you to find a massive open online course of this many tens of thousands of people where it's not possible to post something to the forums and not get an answer. You should be, especially if you're using the office hour. So we're there for you. You can't technically be lost in the sense that every question you, in fact, with the community TAs who are very active, you usually get 4 or 5 answers, more than you want. And so what I would say is, if you're starting to feel like it's overwhelming you and that it's getting to be impersonal and that it's too much, this week we're doing the peer reviews, and there are so many peer reviews, they're just flooding the forums. Just ignore the feed of new responses and go to your favorite or the most attractive thread with the most interesting title and hang out there only. Then look at your schedule, click on office hours, and find out that Lily has an office hour and go in and say, hey, Lily. And what we've noticed is that people behave differently in the office hours. They actually think they feel like it's an office. And they say, hi, how are you? What are you studying? Whereas in the rest of the forums, it's slightly more formal. So I would recommend that if you're feeling overwhelmed, go to the office hours. Okay, Emily Harnett, any advice about people who are lost in ModPo or behind?
Well, in the spirit of pitching for office hours, as few of you have come to mine, I feel a little bit neglected. But another Emily recently came to my office hour and asked me what
Emily, who doesn't have a last name in ModPo. Emily.
Yes, Emily, no last name, came to my office hour and asked me what my favorite poem was. And I actually think that's the perfect approach to trying to manage the unwieldy project of ModPo is pick the poem that you are most interested in and start there, because that's the thing that you really want to be talking about with other people to begin with, is the thing that moves you most and which intrigues you most.
So, I mean, I guess it all goes back to what John Knight is saying, which is enjoy it, relax, it's free, it's non-credit, it's there for you. We love that you're doing a little bit. We would love it more if you did more, but we're not penalizing you. There's nothing punitive about where have you been, right? You come in, you go away. We're, 85% of the people in ModPo are, let's just say, adults. They're people in their 40s and 50s and 60s and 70s and 80s and 90s. There are students, high school students, college students, and people in their 20s. But by and large, we are all busy. Many of us have jobs, or if we're retired, we're overcommitted. So this is just something else in your life, and we want you to not feel bad about it. So Lily first. Sorry, John. Lily first, and then I want to turn to Dorothy, who is behind, I think.
A little bit. Only a little bit.
All right. Lily?
Well, I guess maybe for some people this won't be a soothing notion, but I think one reason why we like all of the poems that we have in ModPo is that you can study them for hours and hours and still find new things to learn about them or make new connections or find something new that sparks your interest and excitement, which de facto means that we're sort of all behind. Like there's no accomplishing a poem with saying like, yep, I've got the whole thing and then moving on. So that's rather than make that the goal. I like what Emily said about finding something that you really like and that really catches your attention, and all the while sort of earmarking the course and knowing that I can come back to this in a month, and maybe in a month when I read images again, something else will spark my interest. But there's no need to feel like I've read to the end of every poem and understood every poem and like check, I'm done, the way that the reading in some other courses goes, where it's like, okay, I read chapter 1 of my history book and if that's done and I'm caught up.
Yeah, good. Can you, while I say one thing, can you give Dorothy the mic? I truly, really do believe that the 10 weeks of synchronous altogether, us altogether, a community moving through ModPo is a great thing. I would love for you to be in week 4 up to week 4. It would be nice. But rather than try to lockstep through 1, 2, and 3 before 4, if we're in 4, skip the rest of the stuff and join us in 4. I'd rather you be with us and then go back to it later. ModPo the site will remain open for everybody who's enrolled on November 17th at a certain point. You can stay in it all year and go back. And our goal is to create a community that goes on every year. Many of the people in this room have been with us since the beginning of ModPo. And we are about to do a deal with Coursera where, and this might be a year in the making, where the site remains a single site rather than new sessions every year. And that site will be available to anybody who has ever enrolled. You can always unenroll, but if you're enrolled, everything we do, new stuff added to ModPo Plus, you will see it, it will come. And then every fall we'll have a 10-week, and now it will become more of a 10-week reunion or symposium, right? A kind of 10 weeks where we'll hang out synchronously and I'll be there, and then the rest of the year is basically for the community. So that's where we're heading, and this will become a MOOC with a difference, because this will become the MOOC that basically created a site where people can come together because they care about poetry. Also, they care about, in Moshe's case, they care about peace and getting along. In John's case, they care about, I want to say, sort of consciousness and mindfulness. Did I do okay with that? And then in Dorothy's case, so you are busy, you're working.
Yeah, so...
And this is hard, isn't it?
Yeah, so I guess I can share about why I joined the course. I actually signed up last year I graduated from college in 2013. I signed up last year. I had a new job. I work in consulting, and
Congratulations on the new job. Is it your first job?
First job.
First job. You're
still
young.
at the job
It's her first job here in Washington, D.C. She is a millennial with a job. She is. Let's stop the webcast right now. You better not be doing ModPo in that first job.
Well.
So why are you doing ModPo? You're all set up. You have a life. You have a salary.
So I guess I could say number one, I had
Sure.
somewhat a brief encounter with some poets, some of the poets in this course in high school. I loved reading Wallace Stevens, although, like I said, I'm behind on this week, but I'm excited to encounter his poem. But I guess another reason I work in consulting, and we're always churning out these reports. We're always writing these PowerPoint
Are those reports
presentations.
well written? Are they? This is just to say.
No, I think
I have stolen the report that you were trying to get credit for. Forgive me. Your report was so sweet and so well argued.
No, but I wish they were like that. I think it's funny in my job, language is such a currency. It's just get the words out and send it off to the client, and it's not in one
They
of
call it wordsmithing in your field.
Yeah, wordsmithing.
We need to wordsmith. They make a verb out of wordsmith.
Yeah.
We need to wordsmith that.
Right.
So you're doing it as a balance?
Maybe not even. There was one of the first videos you were talking about introducing the course, and I think maybe, I don't know whether it was an introduction or whether it was discussion on one of the Dickinson poems, but you talked about the notion of really taking time to read everything slowly and really to, in fact, have a dialogue with what you're reading and think about what you're reading. And I think, sadly, I just don't really do that.
Here you are young, and you're all, right? You don't mind me saying that?
No.
You're young, and you're already reading fast. You're skimming.
Yeah.
Right? And we all know with our devices, I do the same.
Right.
We do more skimming. There's nothing, by the way, inherently wrong. I am not fussy about this. Reading is changing. It is. And we do lots of skimming. And it's fine. But I can't skim a Gertrude Stein poem. I can't skim 13 ways of looking at a blackbird. There are 13 ways. I got to do it 13 times. What if you skimmed it and read only the first way? That's not, so you have to slow down. Last year in ModPo, I went on some kind of weird, I rolled my eyes into the back of my head and I went on one of these webcast riffs about how, and it was also in a video that we made about slow reading, about close reading, right? And I said that it's healthy for us to eat slowly. The slow food movement is really important. I think that the slow po movement, right? Who coined that? Did you coin that, Ray?
I may have.
You may have coined it. Ray Maxwell has a copyright on that. The slow po movement makes you healthy too, in the way that eating slowly literally helps your stomach not drill holes into it. And it literally makes your colon better, and it just makes you able to do stuff after you eat, rather than just sit like a beached whale in front of the television after you eat too much, right? So too, reading slowly. Yeah. Thank you, Dorothy. We have a phone call.
And Kent Eckberg from New Jersey.
Kent.
And John from Seattle is on hold.
Okay. Wow, you got somebody on hold on that thing? Oh my goodness. Okay. Hello, Kent. Can you hear me? Kent, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I want you to turn down the sound on your webcast feed. Turn it down, because we're getting a loop, and we are allergic to loops. Turn it down, buddy. All right. Hi, Kent. How are you?
Good. Who's this?
This is Al.
Hi, Al.
Don't I sound like Al?
Yeah, you sound like Al. It's just that I was a little confused. I was thinking.
Wait a minute, Kent. Wait. We didn't do the preliminaries. I saw you recently and gave you a big hug, but I can't remember where I saw you. This is so weird teaching online. I saw you in New York. Yes, that was fun. That was fun, Kent. How's retirement?
Retirement's terrific. I've got a dog and a constant companion. He's taking my phone too.
You know, Kent, I've seen your dog on Facebook. Yeah.
Everybody has.
Yeah, it's cool. Everybody needs to friend Kent Ekberg and his dog. Kent, do you have a question?
Well, I had a comment. I was just thinking, you were talking about whether or not the refrigerated poems were, in fact, poems and we could accept them as such. It reminded me of O'Hara on the Staten Island ferry writing Lana Turner Has Collapsed, and then delivering it at Staten Island. Robert Lowell was on the boat with him and sort of made a snide remark about how he sort of crafted and worked on his poems. He can do it on the way to the reading.
Yes.
And that's sort of the difference between a kind of high modernist perspective and this newer postmodern perspective of the New York school.
That's really well put, Kent. I'm going to give you a fairly quick reply to the question, but because the question anticipates later weeks in the course, but it's so fantastic. I just want to put it out there, let it stand, put it out there, and respond to it. But you're right. You're totally right. The latter, the Robert Lowell mode, is, alas, it's not necessarily a thing to hooray about. It is, alas, not what ModPo is about. ModPo is about the poet who's on the way to the poetry reading in Staten Island, and he's literally on the ferry, probably, right? This is Frank O'Hara. This is a Chapter 8 poet, a New York school poet, and he writes a poem about having seen in the newspaper, or maybe heard on the radio, I can't remember which, that Lana Turner has collapsed out in Los Angeles. Lana Turner, John Knight, Wikipedia, Lana Turner? No? Anybody Lana Turner? Ray?
That's not Lana Turner.
It is
an African American woman.
No. You're thinking of another of his poems. You're thinking of Billie Holiday in a different poem. This is Lana Turner has not died but collapsed.
Just did die.
Did Lana Turner just die? No, you're thinking of another actress. Lauren Bacall. Okay, so John Knight is not. He's not showbiz Wikipedia, but we knew that going in already. Okay, yeah. So Lana Turner, who is a kind of superstar and somebody, in fact, that the gay community really revered, O'Hara being one of them, and member of that community, and wanted to be aghast that it happened. And he writes about how he's doing this and he's getting ready to go, and it's one of those I do this, I do that poems, and then Lana Turner collapses, and the poem ends, oh, Lana Turner, get up.
I think it's We Love You, get up.
We love you, get up. Yeah. So that's the kind of poem we like in ModPo. That's how fucked up we are, right? That we like the poem that is written as a apology note on a refrigerator. We like the fact that becomes, we like the urinal turned upside down. We like O'Hara with the wind in his hair on the ferry writing the poem that he will then read a few minutes later. Okay. I think we're going to hang up, Kent, and pick up another poem. We now have a third poem, a third call coming. I don't know how to deal with this. Kent, love you, man. Take care. Bye. Bye. You can deal with that. I don't know what to do.
Okay. End hold and.
So we have John from Seattle?
John from Seattle.
Okay. All right. See if you can pick him up. John, can you hear us from Seattle? You got somebody. It's not hanging up at all.
No.
Let's see.
Just go with what it is.
Can anyone hear me on the phone? John, are you there? You're on hold. You're off hold. John, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Ah, Ray, it says hold. You push hold.
Right.
Yeah. Hello, John. John, you spoke.
Hey, how are you?
Yeah, great. You spoke with us 2 weeks ago, I think.
I did, yeah.
Or last week.
I won the book and I received it. Thank you.
Oh, by the way, who won the book today? I forgot.
It was Mike from
Brooklyn.
Mike from Brooklyn. If you're still watching, please make sure Lily has your address. You can find her in her office hours, and we'll mail you the book. All right. John, did you get the book? Did Lily send you the book?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I addressed it to.
You got it?
I addressed it to John from ModPo because I didn't know.
John from ModPo, east of Seattle. Seriously, Lily?
Well, I didn't want to.
Yeah, don't you love the like this is a MOOC that loves like surface mail. Surface mail. John from Seattle, ask us a question, then we're going to hang up and let the TAs answer your question, okay?
Yeah, that's great. So I just wanted to make a quick argument, perhaps, on the red wheelbarrow, because you guys are, so I guess the point is that so much depends upon is not imagistic. But I want to make an argument for why it is. The word depends, as you said on the video.
Yes.
It talks about something hanging down from, a la Calder, as like a mobile.
What happened in the video when I was trying to extract from the TAs that final connotation, it was hard for them, wasn't it?
And I didn't get it. It depends, and there exactly what this image of hanging down from.
Yes.
And so if you look at each line, each stanza, you have 3 words and then one hanging under it. And that's the image that I got from that, kind of a Calder-esque hanging from. And so much depends upon actually is imagistic if you look at it that way.
Yes, that's a great point, John. That is a fabulous point. And I guess what I want to say is that William Carlos Williams thought of his poems as a little, he even said, a poem is a little machine, a small machine made out of words. Now, he said that in the 40s, but there he is in the 20s, trying to make poems work like little sculptures, right? And I think it behooves all of us. And I'm going to, John, I'm going to ask you to hang up so we can get another call, and maybe you can turn your sound up and listen to the answers that the TAs give that way, okay? Thank you. Good to talk to you. He's got such a great voice. TAs, I'm going to throw it to you in a second, but what I want to say is this, that I love poetry of this kind. I love Williams. I love poetry of this kind because it gives us the 5th or 6th connotation of a word like depend. I mean, it's only when you get that final sculptural, originary, etymological, basic sense of the word depends. It is a non-metaphorical sense of depends. All the other versions of depends are metaphors of the original hanging. This follows from this because it hangs off of it, right? This clause in this legal document depends on the stuff that comes before it, and literally in a grammatical diagram, it depends from it, right? So TAs, I'm going to invite anybody to speak, but I have a feeling Jason is going to want to speak to this. Just talk about the thrill, or Emily, or Max in grad school, Anna. Why is Al so excited at this moment about driving all the way to that final connotation of depends and getting there and saying, yes, we're vindicated. PhDs in English, people who care about poetry, we're vindicated. We're the people. We're the tops. Why are we willing? Why are we okay bragging about that? What's so good about us that we go all the way to that last connotation? What's so pleasurable? What's so important? Who wants to say something?
All right, well, MA in English over here.
MA. And teacher. Anna Strong, teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah? How are your students?
They're so good.
Do they like you?
They do, I think.
Hey, Anna, say one thing you learned from ModPo about teaching your own class. Go ahead.
The incredible and absolutely critical value of discussion, always.
Do your kids discuss? Are they willing?
They are. They're so willing. It's awesome.
That's great. All right. Depends. What's so thrilling about driving all the way to the end?
I think it's just the fact that in a poem you can get at so many different meanings, connotations of a single word, and they all work. I think when you read as much prose as I've been reading recently, you don't get that same ability to extend meaning.
Because words in prose are not deployed, typically, are not deployed meaningfully one at a time, typically.
Typically, I would agree.
Yeah. Any other TA out there would like to speak to this question? It's really Al just asking you to enthuse about why this kind of reading, pushing to that final sculptural connotation, why it's good, why it's right, why it's fulfilling, why you're still doing it after all these years. Go ahead. Anybody.
I can enthuse.
Is that Emily?
Yeah, that's me. That's right. You didn't know.
You are. You're like, you were born to do this, weren't you?
I was born to enthuse. But you know, since we're all lovers of poetry, there might be something a little uncomfortable for us about the Images Manifesto and the Images Project in general, because it seems to be prioritizing the visual over the verbal, and the verbal is what we're about.
Yes.
So having this sort of pseudo or somehow dishonest or tricky Images poem, which actually comes around to sort of prove the strength of the word, that the word doesn't need to just represent images as a signifier of things out in the world, but it can actually organize images on the page itself. The sort of double power of written language is really pretty cool, and I think it testifies to just the power of language to do so many things that other artistic mediums can't.
So well put, Emily. Erica, you teach. You've been teaching for years, and now you teach how to teach. So, and you're, here she's not muted. Good, I can actually see you not muted. Can you say something about the satisfaction as a teacher of enabling your students to get to that spot where they figure out the connotation of a word that no one had ever thought of in the classroom before, and it works through the poem? Anything about that?
I had a student a number of years ago who wrote actually a 10-page paper that was the best thing that she wrote all semester on the red wheelbarrow. And it was, you know, it was this moment where she made me read the poem in a way that I'd never read before. And
Which is good for you, isn't it?
Yeah, it was fantastic, and it kind of reminded me why I love poetry and why I love teaching.
Yeah,
because she, you know, she took apart every single word and every single line break.
Yeah, that's really great. I'm going to ask Maurice to speak to this question, and then ask Lily to look at the Twitter feed and just read off some tweets when you get a chance. Okay, Maurice, thoughts on this? It's really a question about why we're doing what we're doing. Why, you know, ultimately, I mean, I would argue that ultimately what Dorothy is doing when she's trying to restore a sense of consciousness and mindfulness about the importance of language, what she's doing is basically participating in the same enthusiasm. It just happens to be a young consultant who does a few hours a week as opposed to, you know, an old non-consultant who does it 80 hours a week. But basically it's the same enthusiasm. Maurice, how are you feeling about this?
Yeah, I mean, I guess what strikes me about it is that it's always interesting to remind ourselves that language has a history, and that's what makes it alive. That there are these multiple layered meanings that we can continue to play with, both in terms of creating poetry and in our interpretation of it. And on the other side of the spectrum, it's fun what Stein does, which is to try to, I guess, wipe away that history and just see how the elements play together when they're arranged in ways that we're not accustomed to, and ungrammatical ways, to go sort of back to that first question we had about grammar and how it sort of locks down and binds language in habitual and sort of fixed ways. Exploring that history, the etymology is what opens it up.
Yeah, really, really well put. I mean, Maurice is getting to the basic point here about why we want to make it new, why we want to start over, why we want to start afresh. Much later in the course, we're going to hear John Cage say, I went around the country with this new piece that I was performing. I went around the country and I tried to make English less understandable. And most of us would think what we need more here today is understanding. What he was saying is, if English is less understandable, then we'll be less likely to do things to each other, bad things to each other with the language. We're more likely, ironically, paradoxically, to come together if we all have to start from scratch. How many of you have ever been in a situation where you're negotiating differences? It could be a personal falling out with somebody, you know, like in a marriage. It could be a deal that you're trying to strike. It could be two different countries or states. And how many of you have ever heard people say, we need to think from scratch about the language that we're using, right? This is what you do. You need to reset the terms. You need to reframe the language, and that's basically what these poems are doing for us. Lily, Twitter. Just read some off. What's happening in the Twitter feed?
Sure. Well, first of all, Karen in the room with us here has been live tweeting the whole time. So if you want a sense of what it's been like to sit in the audience,
Is that what Karen? Can we get a camera on Karen tweeting? It's a meta reference. Meta stuff is happening. Meta Twitter, right? We are running a webcast, reading off tweets that she's been live tweeting about,
Yeah.
and you're reading them off.
She's Steiny Road Poet, if you want
Yes,
to follow.
she sure is.
So Karen Carlson says, now I want to make a sculpture, a mobile with things, family, patriotism, nostalgia, depending from a wheelbarrow. Someone's directions are going off.
We're really hopelessly lost. That must be Mark Snyder trying to get here. Mark, come on. Come on in, Mark. Come on in.
Nicola Quinn tweeted what I said about never being finished with a poem, and Mark responded, I'd say a poem is never finished with you either.
Which Mark? Mark Snyder?
Mark is just Mark on Twitter, Laughing Buddha.
Oh, that's not Mark. That's somebody. Another Mark. This is good. I like Twitter.
Twitter is fun.
Williams would be doing
we're
Twitter.
reading the ModPo Live hashtag. Nicola Quinn gives a shout out to Ray's Human Condition thread, which I second, except for that meant that somebody came to my office hours asking me about the human condition in ModPo.
Thanks a lot, Ray.
Thanks.
The difference is spreading.
Russell Ragsdale said, my falling behind is okay because poetry is about life.
Russell Ragsdale, who is a poet who's done a lot of traveling in Central Asia, I believe. Am I wrong about that?
Kazakhstan.
Kazakhstan, and he's been active in the Facebook group for months and years, and he's just such a great guy, and he's so enthusiastic about poetry. A shout out to Russell Ragsdale. Yeah.
T. De Los Reyes, shout out to T. We're all glad that you're doing well. She says, so much depends upon, so much depends upon.
Yeah, that's T. That's good, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to ask a number of people I'm going to invite somebody. How about Anu? Anu, are you willing to come up and sit in this chair? No. No. Lane, are you willing? No. Okay. All right. This has never happened to me before. Jay Ronnie, are you here?
You never gave people an option before.
Never gave them. Jay Ronnie, would you like to come up and say hello? Okay, Anthony. Come on, Anthony. Come on, Anthony. Let's encourage Anthony. Come on. Come on. Is that actually working?
Yeah, it's my phone. I mean, it's DC.
Yeah. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to invite. Thanks, guys. I'm going to invite a lot of people to do final words, just a little bit, right? Just a quick one, and then I'm going to close with 3 shout-outs to some ModPo people that I really adore. So we're going to go. We'll leave you guys a little later so you can think about what you want to say. We'll start with the TAs. Brief final words about week 3, what we're looking forward to if you want, something that you've seen, a ModPo or a shout out of someone that you are impressed with, something about the peer reviews, anything that you would like to leave people with. We're going to start with Molly. So Molly O'Neill in Los Angeles, I'm going to see you on Saturday morning. I'm really looking forward to it. What do you have to say as a way of final words tonight?
Cool. Well, I just have to say that I'm really happy with the way that this week is going. We're so early into it, and everybody is really embracing Imagism with open arms and diving into the material, and it's super exciting.
Thank you, Molly. Thanks so much for joining us today. Allie Castleman in New York.
Yeah, I want to echo what T just tweeted. With the so much depends upon, I'm really glad that that last final imagistic reading of so much depends upon was brought up towards the end of this webcast, because you can see the so much depends, it kind of just turns the entire poem into this just like nugget of it's all important. So you have the so much depends upon, and then you also have the image that's hanging down from it. And so they kind of point to each other.
Yeah, so it's it's like it's not this, but it's this. I mean, so much depends upon the very fact that so much depends upon. You know, he's really talking about urgency. It's a little like Sid Corman saying, you know, it's not that I have something to tell you, something to say, something you should know. It's to detain you. It's to keep you from going, really. And so much kind of turns on itself. So it creates a sense of urgency without actually having to deliver anything. That's pretty cool. Thank you, Allie Castleman from New York. Maurice from, I don't know, Eastern Pennsylvania somewhere, I think.
Cape Cod, actually, but
Where are you?
Cape Cod.
You're in Cape Cod?
I'm in Cape Cod right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool. I didn't know that.
I wanted to say that in the submissions so far, it's been really great to see people replicating the close reading model. And everyone's been doing a really good job of going line by line, super meticulously, and throwing out not just one, but lots of different ideas, sort of going in that direction towards openness. And I guess one thing I would say is that I would like to see more meta readings, maybe. That's just something that I've been more alert to in ModPo, and it's just something, a kind of a fun game I like to play with myself when I'm reading a poem. But other than that, I really enjoyed what I've read so far, and everyone's doing a really good job. Uh-oh, did we lose connection?
Did we lose Al?
Webcast. I'm sorry.
We did.
You broke it.
Oh, there they are.
Uh-oh.
No, they're not there.
No.
All right, guys, we get a little lost without Al. We don't know what to say.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we should just continue with final words. So.
Yeah,
Yeah.
who hasn't said a final word?
Yeah, should we do it without them?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, Dave, what's your final word?
Are we
Go
just
for
like
it.
talking
Let's-
over them?
Emily, go next.
Okay, I guess we might be talking. You know, it's fine.
We might not
Yeah,
be,
my-
though. Doesn't matter. Just keep going.
Yeah, exactly. I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
So my final words would just be a congratulating everyone for how hard they're working. 'Cause this stuff has been pretty hard, but then again, it's just going to get a lot harder. So everyone, this is sounding a lot
Excellent.
darker, more cynical than my attitude. Just that everyone should give themselves a pat on the back and maybe take a shot or have a drink and hold on tight.
Who's
Dave
next?
Klaveler.
You want me to give final
Go,
words?
Dave.
Oh, wait.
We got it back.
Are they back?
Did we get them back?
Hey, guys.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we were doing it without you.
That's great. Lily's doing the final word. Then I'm going to continue. Let Amaris finish, and then we'll go to some others. So, Lily.
I don't know why.
Yeah, if you are in the mood for a road trip or you're able to come to Philly, I hope that you do. You can also watch all of our programming live and simulcast, like you watch our webcasts live, by searching for a link for KWH-TV on our website.
You can just go to the Writers House Kelly Writers House website and look for KWH-TV as one of the links, and you can watch any of our programs live. Okay, Anthony, final word?
I enjoy slowing down. I like the way that you mentioned that as far as the poems go, because it allows people to ponder. And I think with pondering, what happens is you get a nice exchange of ideas,
Yeah.
which brings you to interesting places.
Yeah.
And a perfect example is the note, the note on the fridge.
Yeah.
And I was thinking of that the fridge is really the center of the artwork within a house.
Yeah.
Because you have all of your kids' stuff on there. You have all of those messages. We have a whiteboard on ours, so we have art and colors and everything else. And it's a nice thing that happened by just pondering what we were talking about during this time.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Anthony. Thank you so much, and thanks for everything you do for the ModPo community here in DC. Amaris, do you want to finish your thought? We cut you off maybe 2/3 of the way through.
Oh, sure. Not exactly sure where I got cut off, but I guess I'll say that it took me a while to get to a point where I felt comfortable writing sort of a free-flowing essay. For a long time, I had to do paragraphs in your traditional, thesis to conclusion format, and it's been really encouraging and nice to see so many people just throwing out their ideas and going with their thoughts and really putting themselves out there, both in the forums and the submissions.
Thank you, Amaris, and thanks for joining us tonight. Anna Strong in Boston. Final word.
I just want to give a quick shout out. I love my office hours. Office hours are my favorite thing. And I just want to give a shout out to Yariv, who has come to visit almost all of my office hours, and he asks the hardest questions.
Yeah, Yariv is great. Where is Yariv? Does anybody know where he is?
In Europe.
He's in Europe somewhere. Yeah, okay. Yariv, call sometime. We'd love to talk to you. Come to Prague on the 14th of October. Thank you, Anna.
Yeah, man, he just gives me stumpers every time, and it's so awesome.
Yeah, he is amazing. He's a smart guy. Dave Poplar.
Yeah, I actually just want to riff a little off of what Ali said about so much depends, and just say that the thing I really like about this week is how you can see we're really starting to leverage the idea of poetry and language as pure artifice, and it just becomes more and more philosophical as we get into it. And I think this poem, So Much Depends, really shows that and gets us prepped for Stein, which we need some prepping for.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, between walls, the back wings of the hospital, where nothing will grow, lie cinders in which shine the broken pieces of a green bottle. He is looking at a place that is devoid of beauty, conventionally thought of, in a hospital where people are dying, and he's trying to revive his own sense as a doctor of life. And he looks at cinders in a godforsaken place in the back wings of a crazy hospital, and he finds something glinting in the sun, and it's a broken piece of bottle, and he decides that life is there. That is where life is, and that it's total artifice, and it's a great moment. Thank you, Dave. Emily Harnett, final word quickly.
Well, some of the people listening to the webcast from remotely heard what I said, but yeah, this was a super difficult week, and you guys should be so proud of yourselves for getting through it. And you should also hang on to your hats, because it's going to get a lot harder as we go forward.
Fasten your seatbelts. It's only Tuesday of week 3. Just want to remind everybody, it's okay, Dorothy. You'll be able to do it. Thank you, Emily Harnett. Erica Kaufman or Kaufman, whichever, both.
I guess my final words would just be, I have office hours in like 20 minutes, so come and continue to talk to me then.
Cool. That's great. We're going to stay here at the folder and just join you. That would be really cool.
Okay.
Thank you, Erica. Thank you for everything. You're the best.
You're the best, Al.
No, you are the best. Jason, final word. Jason dropped out. Max, final word. Max McKenna.
I also want to give a shout out to Yariv, who, like he did to Anna, kept me on my toes last week in my office hours. I'm looking forward to more questions from Yariv, that's for sure. I also want to just go off of what Dave just said about things getting more philosophical. I think things are also, it just occurred to me this time around, that things are getting like kind of more mathematical, especially with the Pound poem and A Station of the Metro, which we didn't talk about in this session. But you see things getting kind of, that poem's like a great equation. It's almost like I think of it as mathematical almost, and I think that starts to gesture in a kind of roundabout way to some of the aleatory exercises and stuff that we'll encounter in a couple weeks, and sort of attempts to kind of outsource the genius of the poet in a way. So.
Yeah, nicely put. Thank you, Max. Well, I want to conclude by 4 shout-outs to people who moved me very much this week. They are Ryan Grandy, Richard Randazzo, Aaron Hoos, and Nathan Walker. I was very moved by lots of things that I read in the forums. Believe it or not, I'm a little obsessive and I don't sleep much, so I'm reading almost everything that's posted, which sounds a little hard to believe, but there you go. And I've I just fall in love with these people. I mean, it's just, and these are just, I don't want to say these four are random examples of ModPo people, but they are, you can find these people everywhere in this community, not just this community. This is just 35,000 people in the world, and there are many, you can do groupings of 35,000 people thousands of times, obviously. Ryan Grandy is an electronic technician during the day, but adores poetry by night. And he likes ModPo because there's a sharp contrast between his, quote, factual science-based writings of his day-to-day life and the writings of the great poets that we're studying. He loves the craft of writing, and he lives in Montana, he says, where there is little to no access to poetry readings and groups. And all I want to say is Ryan, an electronic technician by day and poet by night, that's what this massive open online course is about. It is about access. It is about access. So Ryan, I know it's not the same as sitting in a room for a poetry reading, but join us anytime. You're here with us. You're one of us. Montana is no longer remote in the poetry world. Richard Randazzo, really, really beautiful piece that he wrote about why he's in this course. He says he enjoys the webcasts. He says thanks to me and all the TAs and everyone else involved in making this happen and making everything so readily available. He says it's obviously a labor of love, and Lily, I guess that's true, isn't it?
Yes.
It's a labor of love. He didn't know what to expect when he joined ModPo, and now he says that a day does not go by where he, Richard Randazzo, is not sharing with someone about these poems or about ModPo in his daily life. Either some of the poems, discussions, or assignments, or some other aspect of the course is on his mind every day. And I want you all, and anybody out there in the world who's watching this, though we won't be able to see you raise your hand, if you, at least once a day, say something to someone about ModPo, raise your hand. So the difference is spreading. Richard Randazzo is talking about these weird poems, and therefore someone who's not in ModPo is talking about poetry in the world. And if you do that every day, you do your multiplication of 35,000, you've got yourself a whole lot of people. It actually, as Moshe Shimoni always reminds us, if you do this a little at a time in the different spreads, you finally reach an awful lot of people. Yeah. Aaron Hoos. Aaron teaches at an international school in St. Petersburg, Russia. He teaches 10th grade English. He's got 18 students in his class. He, in the teacher's site, the teacher's thread, he told the other teachers who are discussing teaching these poems a particular, very specific lesson plan for how he teaches his students in St. Petersburg in English, Danse Russe, and a supermarket in California. And he described the lesson plan in great detail to the point where it's very useful for teachers worldwide. When asked about ModPo, he says he stumbled upon it last year. He's been assigning some of the ModPo videos and asking students to annotate the poems at home in an attempt to flip the classroom, which is the way teaching can be done now. Flip the classroom. What does that mean? It means, Ray, flipping, what does it mean?
Well, it means delivering the lecture at home and then having the class period for discussion.
Exactly. So that's the roughest way to talk about flipping. So basically, we enabled Aaron to flip the classroom in St. Petersburg where the students get ModPo at night and then come into his class and talk about it. His students use the videos and the protocols as training wheels, he says, but they are constantly being reminded that the goal is to learn how to ride on their own. And I guess what I want to say, why I was so moved about Aaron's teaching ModPo in St. Petersburg, is that so many fears about MOOCs are that they will imperialize or take over someone else's classroom, and that we are putting them out of business. And in fact, I think Aaron Hoos is ever more so in business because of the community relationship we have with him, and also the free use of the ModPo materials that he has for his students. And finally, on Aaron, I asked him, what did the leadership administration of the school say when he told them, if he did tell them, of his plan to use ModPo in the course? And he writes, Al, my principal is supportive. He understands that the standards and learning expectations for this part of the 10th grade course are the same as before. With the introduction of ModPo, we have not somehow automated or MOOCized his curriculum. It is the same as it was, and the student's performance is still measured using our local teacherly assessment tools and projects there in St. Petersburg, there in the school. Nevertheless, he says, the ModPo videos serve as models of good academic discussions of poetry. I praise any teacher who goes to a principal or a headmaster or a dean and says, can I use this free, open material to teach? I want every administrator who's listening to this to allow those experiments to happen, because the students will benefit. The kids in St. Petersburg who are trying to learn English, how could they not benefit from an English language community that's talking at this level, mostly adults? And finally, I want to read, I was very moved by this, I want to read a comment from Nathan Walker. Nathan is very, very frank with us about his experience. And Nathan, alas and hurrah, is typical of ModPo people, lots of ModPo people who've had this experience in the education system and have come to us after that. So Nathan wrote, for all of us to hear, thank you for your kind words, Al. I wrote what I mean to say at the end of this, which is that Nathan is one of the finest students in ModPo. He's just incredible. How many of you have run into Nathan Walker in the forums? He's definitely there. I guess I thrived until I didn't. I had asked him how he had done in school. If you don't mind a little digression and the hazy flashback wipe, my education has always been marked, even really early on, by discontinuities stemming from physical and mental health issues, as well as frequent moves due to growing up in the military. I actually did not expect to get a high school diploma, as I was a poet. Poets don't need badges. And only did because I was adopted into an international baccalaureate program newly incorporated in my local high school. This was both interesting enough and structured enough that I was able to succeed there. When I went to college, I did not really learn anything practical from this and went to a loosely structured college without grades. This was very appealing to me, as I was already essentially an autodidact, and being able to learn about whatever one wanted while designing one's own curriculum was very exciting. I enjoyed going to class, but my attendance was spotty. I did all the reading and more, but when it was time to write the end of the semester essays, my plans were always untenable and out of line with their quite reasonable expectations. He's not blaming the school for this. He's talking about his difference. After the first year there, I gave myself uncompletable tasks, which were not assisted by the flaring of chronic health problems and pretty serious mental illness. I was asked to leave twice, not because of any disciplinary problems, but because I simply could not without pay. For a while, I did, in fact, attempt to learn a trade and went to a really great vo-tech school to learn how to be a welder. Although I was a seriously mediocre welder, I got a job doing that for about a year despite not having certification until workplace conditions made me sick and I had to leave. A few years later, I was lucky to get a library assistant's job and helped put together a really nice poetry section in that library for them, one which I am still proud of having assembled to this day. Once poetry left me, I went to community college and discovered a previously unrealized love for mathematics. So I took all their math courses until I could no longer take any more. I was clearly not interested in pursuing the requirements, even for an AA degree. I worked at the library for 10 years, until once again mental health problems made that untenable. I was heartbroken to leave the library job, but had plans to move to Minnesota to be with my now partner, who I had known in college and always been friends with, having reconnected with online. Right before that could happen, I suffered a serious concussion and could not function at all for a long time. I moved to Minnesota anyway and have been having ups and downs with the TBI ever since. What is fascinating to me is that one morning in November 2013, I woke up and began writing poetry, again, like it had never stopped. And I have done so since that time. I keep thinking it will go away, and I am steeling myself for that day. This course has been really perfect for someone like me. It is structured and paced in a way that seems ideal. I am so sorry. I'm sorry to be so long-winded and aggressive. I didn't really know how to answer your question otherwise. I hope you are not sorry you asked. Nathan. And I guess I would say to Nathan, and I know you're listening tonight, I'm not sorry that I asked, and I'm not sorry that you answered the way you did. I want you to know in front of everybody that you are one of the finest students in the class. Your insights are remarkable. Your energy for what we're doing is amazing, and I am honored that totally by fucking luck, this MOOC, who knew what a MOOC was 3 years ago? This thing that we've created works for you. It's an educational structure that works for you. It works for Dan Bergman. It works for nanogenarians. It works for high school kids in St. Petersburg. It works. It is there. It's not going away, and it's for the Nathan Walkers of the world. And here's to the Nathan Walkers of the world. So thank you. John Weems, Mike from Brooklyn, Elaine, Diana calling from Switzerland, see you in Prague, Kent and his dog, John from Seattle, Jayrani, Susan, Karen, Kellyanne, Susan, Ursula, James, John Knight, Dorothy, our consultant, Ev, Karen, Martin, Ryan Williams, Lane, Anu, Anthony, Eileen, Terry from the Folger, Matt from the Folger, Ray, Maxwell, yeah, Ray, Anthony, Lily Applebaum, you're the best. Yeah, you are the best. Zach Carter and Chris Martin came all the way down here and did this impossible thing. Molly, Allie, Amaris, Anna, Dave, Emily, Erica, Jason, Max, and this is Al signing off from the nation's capital. Poetry rocks, right? The difference is spreading. See you next week. Are we off? Chris and Zach.